I would like everyone to help me in welcoming the very easygoing Trevor Taylor of Mac Insurance. No, not Trevor Taylor of BNI Champaign from Charleston, Illinois. So another Trevor Taylor in BNI in the States. Trevor grew up, at the time, it was the village of Beaumont. As time went on, he ended up going to all four schools between grade 1 and 12. As everyone knows, Beaumont is now a city. Trevor and his wife, Erin, they reside currently in Fort Saskatchewan. They have three daughters, which I think the youngest now is about to start university, if I read into this. Being the only male in the family, I would assume that Trevor has a sixth sense of knowing what women really want. You'd have to, especially if in one of Trevor Taylor's burning desires was to live a long and healthy life. Something that you may not know about Trevor is he shared a double A midget all-star game with Shane Doan. If you don't know, Shane Doan was a 20-year veteran of the NHL. Yes, Trevor, you may have not made it to the NHL, but you beat him with 23 years of insurance experience. So take it away, Trevor.
Yes, thanks, Kyle, for that lovely introduction. I did. Kyle asked me for a few, tidbits of information and something that people might not know about me, and so that was my hockey career highlight. I did play in the All-Star game with Shane Doan back in midget when I was 16 years old, and that's kind of the ongoing joke is that he went on for 20 years in the NHL and I did not. So here's just the cover page here. We have three offices right now at Mac Insurance and Registry, St. Albert downtown and South Side. Both our South Side location and our downtown location have Registry within those offices. However, there are some changes on the horizon, and that's all I will say about that for now. You can go to the next screen. Thank you. So born in Edmonton. We moved out to Beaumont in 1979. My parents are actually still in the original house, still in the house that we moved into in 1979. Spent my childhood there. I moved out in about 94. I moved actually back into Edmonton, just off of White Ave. So that was a fun couple of years in my late teens, early 20s. I met my wife in 1995 and we got married in 97. And three daughters. So actually, no, my youngest is 16. And she's going into grade 11. So nobody's attending university. My oldest one is actually planning her wedding for next year, next June. And my middle one, Emerson, is, we're kind of up in the air right now. Her, as some of you know, her boyfriend is drafted with the Detroit Red Wings, and he'll be making his way to Detroit here on Sunday. And once he knows what team he's going to be playing for, we may be going on a little trip to get my daughter with him and settled and all of that. So very nervous, exciting, nervous, scary, all of those emotions that come with your birds as they leave the flock, leave the nest. And that's just a picture. That's from a couple of years ago. But that's a picture of my wife and the kids and myself, of course. You can see where they all get their good looks from. So a little bit about my career history. I was pretty motivated as a young kid. There is a story as to why I started a little business at 13 years old. Ask me about it when we do one-to-ones. But I cut grass for neighbors. I swept floors in a local restaurant. I rode the Dickie D ice cream bike. And if any of you know Beaumont, very easy going down the hill. Not so fun coming up the hill on that bike full of ice cream. I did all kinds of crazy jobs. I literally shoveled dirt. Exactly what it says. That was my job. I shoveled dirt from one pile to the next at a greenhouse. I picked rocks on farms. Picked chickens. I did garbage pickup out at Pigeon Lake at some of the summer villages there for some summer work as a kid. And I did a little bit of restaurant. I was a waiter and a host and whatnot, all by the time I was 16. So once I got licensed, then I could go a little further, and I did some drywall construction. I was a glass courier, a shipper, receiver, and I did some landscaping and horticulture stuff with Edmonton Public School Board. I was an apiarist. I did work at a bee farm. Really exciting, like a lot to learn, actually. It's pretty fascinating. I'm still kind of fascinated with bees and all the good things that they do for us and our environment. I was a mechanic. I did actually rebuild a 1971 Chevy C10 pickup between, when I was probably from about 17 took me till I was about 19 maybe to get that project finished. And then as a young man, the body work was just way too expensive. So I turned around and sold it, and wish I had it to this day. And then I did actually become a journeyman water well driller. I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And that was really interesting. A lot of great learning just about our groundwater and how things work, the different types of water that our ground offers, and different soils, and all of that stuff. So still to this day, good knowledge. And then I was up in Fort McMurray as a pipe fitter. I did that for about 1.5 years. And that brings us to this. So again, I was up in Fort McMurray at 98, 99. And my wife and I had started to discuss having a family. And I just wanted to find a career that would put me home for dinner most nights versus being out of town. And in hindsight, actually, it was, 3 daughters. I'm sure glad that I am home every night to kind of keep an eye. Now that they're older, it's not so big of a deal. But when they were younger, especially as boys started sniffing around, it was nice to be home every evening to keep tabs on things. And actually, my wife was in the insurance business with the cooperators. And so that's where I went to. I started with cooperators in 1999, brand new, totally green. And by the end of 2003, they had offered me 2 agencies as a full agent owner out in Andrew and Lamont. And we had that until halfway through 2012, and sold that. And took a little bit of time to kind of regroup and see what I wanted to do when I grew up. And lo and behold, I was doing the right thing. I wanted to continue to be in insurance. So I went to work for Mac Insurance in June of 2014. So why Mac Insurance and Registry? There's, we all know, insurance and insurance companies and insurance brokers, there's so many of them, you could hardly spit without hitting an insurance agent or a broker somewhere. So what separates us? We do take customer service and satisfaction very seriously. It is our #1 priority. We're not perfect like everybody else. We're going to make mistakes, but we own those mistakes, and we work really hard to make things right and to make our customers happy. And hopefully we exceed their expectations. We have a great team, very professional, very knowledgeable, and we have a lot of options, a lot of solutions all in one office. You can handle your insurance and your registration. There's land title searches that come along with Red. There's all sorts of things that can be done all in a one-stop shop. We have great technological capabilities, and that's even expanding. We're in the midst actually of expanding some of these online capabilities, both for insurance and for registry transactions. We do trust our team and their abilities. Like I said before, we have extremely highly educated and professional staff that we completely trust. We have great carrier partners, some of the best ranked, highest ranked insurance companies in Canada, and that is also expanding. We just brought a new carrier on about, I want to say maybe 1.5 months or 2 months ago, and we're working with another great company to hopefully bring them on board with Mac Insurance as well here in the next couple of months, hopefully before the year's done. And we have great core values, which include accountability and integrity. So why me? This is just a little quote. We're the sum total of our experiences. And as you can see with my work history and that background, I do have a lot of experience. I've done a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things. I can relate a lot to different industries. I'm comfortable on the trade side of things. I can do some trade talk, some trade speak. I know a lot of the terminology and things when that group gets together. Oil and gas construction, like it says there. But I truly do put my clients' best interests first. And I work hard to honor my guiding principles. I would rather walk away from an opportunity than to either betray my personal morals or my principles, but also I'll walk away from an opportunity if a client chooses to really sort of cut corners and is just so, fixated on making sure that they have the lowest premium possible. Sometimes I shy away from those things and would rather walk away, because I've seen it enough. I've been around a long time. I've been in this business a long time, and 90% of the time, the ones that take shortcuts and are just concerned with trying to find the lowest premium, they're the ones that have the biggest issues at the time of a claim, and are usually very unhappy. But again, it usually boils down to their own choosing. So sometimes I'll walk away from those opportunities. So I do want to talk a little bit about insurance and commercial insurance. I know that it's a super exciting conversation that most people, can't wait to get up for. But these are some key coverages that I think are important to just sort of point out. So business interruption. So of course that's going to pay your revenue while you're rebuilding after a claim. I mean, could you imagine if you had a brick and mortar store, maybe a retail store, for example, and you employed, I don't know, 6 people. There's a fire that burns down. It's going to take some time to rebuild that. You're going to still need some revenue. Number one, just to pay bills. Maybe you have loans that are going to continue to need to be paid, but also to retain key staff. If you've got some great people and you don't want them to leave while you're rebuilding, they're going to want a paycheck still. So this would help you to do that. Installation floater. So talk about trades. This is a great coverage for all the trades people to be aware of. So this is coverage for materials that are not yet installed, that are for a client and is still the responsibility of the contractor. One of the great examples for you HVAC guys out there, for your plumbers, is like furnaces, air conditioning units, that sort of stuff. If you have that, say, in the back of your truck and it's going to be installed at a client's place, maybe you get in an accident and that is damaged. Maybe it falls out of the back of the truck and it's damaged. That's still your responsibility. And if you don't have that proper installation floater, you may not have coverage for it. And now what do? You either eat it or you go to that client and say, I need you to pay for 2 furnaces. It's not going to happen. And then there's the liability. So all businesses require general liability. And some do require E&O, which is your professional liability as well. So for professional liability, some types of businesses that are in our chapter, for example, would be like Craig and Steve. They require the professional liability because they are giving, their professional advice. So businesses like that would require it.
If you could wrap up in the next 2 minutes, that would be awesome.
I will. And just some key coverages continued. So tenants' legal liability, which is often overlooked, but it is important, especially if you're an actual tenant and you've done some improvements. Additional insureds and certificate holders, there is a significant and critical difference. Certificate holders are just really a piece of paper and they get notification if the policy cancels. Additional insureds will actually be part of a claims check if they're still listed on there. Co-insurance, what is it? Why is it relevant? And what could it mean in a claim scenario? We'll go to the next screen and I'll quickly rip through this example for you. So co-insurance is a big deal. Let's say you have $100,000, whether it be a building or property value or your contents value, and your co-insurance is 90%. This means you need to insure to at least 90,000 if the value is 100. Let's say you only insured a 75,000, you have a claim that's worth 50,000, say due to a fire. The math is kind of simple, really. So 75,000 is what you did insure for. You should have done for 90,000. That's what you should have insured for. So you divide that, gives you this 0.833. Your $50,000 loss now, you multiply it by that. It's only 41,000. Take away your deductible. That means a $50,000 claim is only going to pay you $40,650 if you're not properly covered to the full co-insurance value. So that's $10,000. Imagine if it was $1 million building only insured for $750. So it is important whether that, and this actually applies to personal insurance too. So keep that in mind. Cyber liability, we've talked a lot about that over the last couple of weeks. There's 2 levels of coverage: your first party, which protects you and your systems, but also the third party coverage, which is for your clients if your systems infect their systems and they're attacked through you. So some great examples of referrals: exterior contractors, landscapers, interior contractors, electricians, painters, your residential, commercial renovations, hair salons, spas, those types of things, restaurants, building owners, and truly almost anything. We have multiple markets that we can look at, both standard and non-standard. So there's a lot of different businesses that I can look at. And that's it. I think that was 2 minutes. Thank you guys for listening.
BNI starts now.
BNI starts now. Like everyone says it.
Are we all saying it? I'm confused.
What are you saying now?
Do we all say BNI?
Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
Starts meow.
Now.
Do you want
You
us to
say
say
it.
BNI?
Say it more casually. Like we're not trying to rehearse the most impossible phrase in the world.
Now.
Oh,
BNI
starts now.
BNI
starts now.
no.
What was the best one yet?